Hello and welcome to the weekly live stream where I develop Mythruna in real time while you guys watch and heckle me from the corners or whatever. Um, Today we're going to be working on the clothing editor because Mythruna will have custom clothing that players can create just like the objects and eventually items. I want to flesh that out. I'm going to try to lean into some of the features that are unique to Mythruna. Let me go ahead and thank. Hey, howdy 30 seconds ago. Hey, Ron, how's it going? So thank the patrons. Um, Teamwork makes the dream work, and you guys are helping out a lot. It definitely gives me a little boost when I see the Patreon transfer done every month, and know I can cover my server costs and things like that. Hopefully someday we can get it up to the point where it's covering more than my server costs, but that's good for now. Alrighty, without too much further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Let me move this down here and see. Look at the live stream thing with the concurrent viewers pop up majigger. Okay, minimize that. All right. So as you guys may recall, I had that prototype editor where you could load up, Mythruna Girl and click and add swatches and things. And so the idea being to create something like that in game that's maybe a little more user friendly. And so the user interface idea I had was sort of patterned off of like tailor's dummies. So if you want to look at like antique tailor dummies, this kind of thing, only extended to the whole body to include potentially pants. But I liked the fact that the arms were separate, and so that gave me the idea that I kind of want to have something like this, but with the arms and legs, you can remove them as you need to get in at different spots, and otherwise it'll work very much like the block editor, and that's probably where we'll start. So what I did this week was in Blender, I basically took Mythruna Girl and chopped her up, so that I have like all these different parts that with some guidelines to help line things up a little bit. So there's our sort of tailor's dummy for creating female clothing, and then when I get the male model finalized, we need to come up with, we call it Mythruna Girl, her name is Fade. We need to come up with a good name for Mythruna Boy, because I never played a character like that is iconic in my mind, so they come up with a good name for Mythruna Boy. I have some ideas, but anyway, so I've got this model exported and sort of ready to go with all the parts. So that'll be the basis for our, I painstakingly mapped these. Anyway, that'll be the basis for our interface, and then I'll run down a little bit how it's going to work in game. And I'll show you a little spoiler for some future puzzle ideas. Oh, by the way, up at the top corner is the place where you can go and download the most recent version, which is August 1st. Yes, that's right, 11 days ago, or 10 days ago. I released another test build. So if you go to that URL and type the password that's up here, you get to this screen. You can join the Discord, and you can download Mythruna. I think as yes, it's going to make me put the password in. Don't update. So I think 5 people have, including myself, have downloaded the Windows version. 1 person the Linux version. So yeah, download it and you can play around with it. And that's the one I'm running tonight. Essentially no modifications yet, but that's what we'll be modifying. So continue our last world, which I think I'm using test world 42, seed 42, which I find to be a pretty decent world. I want to start, as the world generation gets finalized, I want to start making a catalog of kind of world seeds with interesting stuff. Oh yeah, by the way, when it starts up, you get these text prompts, mostly to give you something to read while the longer generation happens. Although I wrote all these text prompts, and it never gets through them all before. See, you can see towns off in the distance. If you guys can see that on here, there's a town there and a town there, and there's some farms here, I think. But if we, so one of the new features of this release is that we have the map that shows you, yeah, town, and if we enable the markers cheat, we'll also see all the farms and cave systems and things, but I usually leave those off. So we've got a couple towns in the distance. Anyway, real quick, so I had this idea. I watched my wife play this game on her Kindle. It's kind of like Tetris, except for it's not gravity. You can just kind of drag the blocks and fill in gaps and stuff. And I thought, well, that'd be kind of a neat puzzle in 3D, like a key and lock kind of system. So the idea being that you could have these, parts that have to fit inside of, certain shapes, physical objects, and then, I can't really. So these might be here like this, and if you can imagine they're physical objects, then you could, then they would kind of fall into place. Of course, it sometimes takes some finagling to get them to go the right way, right? But the idea being that you could, let me give you guys some more light. So you could potentially, crap. I had them fall into place before, which is how I got them in the hole in the first place, but you can kind of understand what I'm talking about. Anyway, right now you can't click to drag any of the physical objects, so that makes this puzzle like nearly impossible. But that's kind of the idea. So I think that's kind of cool little maybe sneak peek at one of the ways that keys, certain kinds of like ancient keys and locks might work or whatever. Anyway, I'm going to make these static again, and if I drag it, it'll, just put them up here for now. Where'd that other one go? There it is. If I make them static, then I know they won't mess with anything later. Alright, so anyway, the idea being, so you got these like specially shaped holes, and you'd have to put the right keys in the right slots. Anyway, I thought it'd be a cool way to open like ancient ruins or something. Anyway, back to the task at hand. So eventually this player menu is going to be kind of like the edge of a book with bookmarks, because all of the interfaces will be based around that, open and closing animated book. That's not something I wanted to saddle myself with while I'm still working on game features, but I had that UI working in one of my Mythruna prototypes before, so I know it's not a big deal. It's just work. But right now you have the blueprints, which brings up this selector. Whee! Oh yeah, that's not a big deal. The puzzle hole, puzzle piece 1, puzzle piece 2. And so I thought I'd add another one here for clothing that would bring up sort of a similar selector. And instead of this screen, it would have just like the same paper interface, because I want to try to keep that paper, and it would get rid of these side things, and you just have the mannequin there with the ability to select, swatches and creases and things, and shapes, and toggle on and off different parts of the tailor's dummy, or the dress dummy, or whatever, what do you call it, dressmaker's dummy. So we want to add a button. Tonight I'm going to add a button to this menu and hopefully get this stage set up. I'm going to skip the selection phase because I don't have the objects to list those out, but hopefully we can get at least the dressmaker's dummy in and clickable, and hopefully the toggles to turn off the different parts. If we get that done tonight, I'll be really happy, because that sets me up for basically implementing the rest this weekend. So that's where we're going to go. So first we got to add the button to the player's menu, and eventually all these will be books. Even the map will be a big page in a book, or it will open up and there'll be a map covering the center. But eventually maps will be collectible items, and you can build your world map from pieces of maps or maps you've made yourself and things. So that's going to be more advanced, but right now this is the map. And I'm really, God, it's so hard, so tempting to sing the Dora the Explorer thing. Anyway, all right, I'm the map. Anyway, So let's get started on the coding. And if you guys do download the game and you find some cool, because there's caves, there's sort of basic random towns. There's no rhyme or reason to them. But as you're going around, if you find things, join the Discord and post pictures. I'd like to see some of the things that the world generates, even if they're like crazy. It'd be kind of cool. All right, so we want to kind of pattern ourselves off this. So I'm going to leave it open, but this is a player menu. This is where we add. In JMonkey Engine, app states are kind of like ways to extend the application, only you can turn them on and off. So each of like the map view, hey Gaming Dan, how's it going? So the map view, the blueprint selector, these are all sort of states that can be turned on and off as they're enabled. So we're going to add another one for, I think I'll make, like we have here, I'll make another one for clothing maybe. Yeah, we'll call it clothing, and we'll call it clothing editor state. And my editor will put some nice stuff in there for me because I have a template set up. Okay, so we've got the basics of an app state in JMonkey Engine, and we'll go ahead and add that over here. And just to be sure, I'm just going to do it in the same order that I want them to appear, though it doesn't matter. Oh, actually, it might matter. Add submenu. So that's what we'll have to do at a minimum to add ourselves. So somewhere in here in the blueprint version, it's so interesting. We're going to steal a lot of this, but we're going to steal a whole lot of this to the point where probably a base class could get written. But the part I want to steal right away is the part that does the add submenu. Ooh. Oh, it's the selector state that does it. Yeah, so that'll have to move eventually. For now, so did I spell it wrong? Oh yeah. Submenu. I leave my editors. No, I did it right. Oh no, there it is. I leave my editor in case sensitive mode. So sometimes it catches things weird. So that's at the end. He does that. The end of initialize. So this should be enough. That should be enough to get us started. We'll call this clothing. Clothing is not a good enough name, really. I'm gonna have to change it because clothing doesn't imply design to me. But there'll be, in the book it'll be a little different because it'll be clearly distinct from inventory. But for now, I'm going to have to come up with a better name, tailoring, or what's a good name for designing clothing? Actually, let's do clothing editor state. And let's see if we got to our menu at least. We can start building out the tableau. So hopefully those of you guys who have downloaded the game, the recent one from the beginning of the month, have had some fun exploring. I've spent so much time exploring, finding crazy places, mostly going through the caves and placing lighting, as I go around and explore. all the different cave systems, and to the point where I almost tried to implement like a flare gun or something to be able to shoot lighting into places because I was wasting so much time walking around caves. I'm like, this will save me time. All right, so we've got a clothing. Yeah, maybe I'll call it just clothing design. Well, anyway, we'll all know what it means for now. So the idea being, if I select that, then it's selected. You can select it, and it's bringing something up, but you know, it's not actually there. We haven't put anything there yet. Oh, I really have to implement the property imaging. Anyway, another time. All right, so now we've got some work ahead of us. Let's see. Want to steal a bunch of stuff. What do I want to steal? I want to steal the background, which is, I think, the vignette effect that the way it goes darker on the edges. And build area. The build area is separate. Yep. Okay, so the build area is where the magic happens. But I think those are just the... Trying to remember how this scene is constructed. Because there's a lot here. Okay. So there's this center thing. Okay. So the platform, I think, is different than the build area. Platform, that's the part we want to keep. Blueprint platform. Does it ever get... No, it's just a node. And then the build area is probably what has that paper bottom. Alright. So let me think how to proceed best. We want to see something. So I'm thinking cut and paste coding. We will call this I'm going to call it just the dummy. What do I want to call it? This is what happens when you don't design ahead of time, kids. Yeah, let's just call it Taylor's dummy for now. Okay. So I'm going to steal a bunch of stuff from this class to the point where I sucked in the whole thing. It's weird because at the day job now I do use a IDE all day, every day. And I probably want all these things. Definitely. And, you know, the style of how I approach something is completely different. So extends node, okay. We do the thing that JME tells us never to do. I don't like this name. We're going to call it design area. Yeah. And then we might eventually come up with some kind of common class. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that too. Anyway, yeah, so I approach things different. Like I do a lot more cut and paste coding here than I would in the IDE because the IDE just gets really confused by that. It wants to format all the code and having two classes in one file. It doesn't like that at all. So we add all this stuff. You know, I probably don't need... Who's calling this? Oops. What is this using it for? Validate cells. Yeah, so we probably don't need any of this stuff because this is specific to the builder stuff. I wonder if... Just make sure it compiles. It does. So we're good there. So we can start stealing code from here. Gosh, we want to steal almost everything. Because we're still going to want to name things. We won't have like carved and uncarved and all that other stuff, but we will have most of the things. So let's steal all the imports. Probably don't need the temporary part. In fact, I don't know if the other one needs the temporary part. What are we... get distracted for a second. What are we using cell array protocol for? Commented out stuff. So actually, that's old stuff even for there. I think originally when I was just testing the editor, I was loading blueprints from the file system. Okay, so actually I probably can just steal all of this. Whoops. And we'll just remove what we don't want. And I just removed that line from initialize, so I'm going to put that down here. All right, so when you have something that is fundamentally almost identical to the other thing, sometimes it does pay to go ahead and do a little cut and paste coding. I find it sometimes easier to remove things. I'm going to just get rid of all that stuff. It's going to skip. Yeah, we're good enough. So we need that. Oh, we don't. No, build area is now design area. So if any of you have been working on anything interesting that you want to talk about in the chat, type selector, we will eventually need something like that, but not these. Object settings, yes. Carved, no. In fact, I can take that out. Clothing name. Clothing name should be enough. You know, actually, we'll call it different. Because maybe the blueprint has a name, and then you want the object to have just like regular. Maybe the design of the clothing has one name, but the name of the thing it produces is different. That's the way the blueprints work. Seems we have 2 concurrent viewers at the moment. We definitely need a cursor handler and input handler, all that stuff. We will need a flashing type cursor, but not the kind that's for block editing. We won't need any of this block editing stuff. We do want an edit history. Was this specific to over here? Yep. Okay, so probably want to centralize that at some point. So leave it as a to-do kind of thing. Does Blueprint even use World Manager? Nope. This is from old code. Still cleans it up though. Interesting. Okay, so we don't need that. Pretty sure we don't need that. We will call this clothing data for now, just to remember that we want that later. Let's change this to clothing. Yeah. Just change them all, and then it'll complain about the things that are missing. Already I know that I have to get rid of this. And I'll put them back later. To carve, we don't need that. We don't need, well, we need to save eventually, but it's not going to look like this. Same, we don't keep track of the total edit count. Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I was kind of talking about. This strongly hints that I need a third one, or that I need a common class. So usually the rule of 3 is what I use, right? If I need 2 of them, yeah, it's okay to one-off them. As soon as I need 3, then I'll extract it to a base class, because by then I have enough use cases to understand what I really need from it. In this case, it's a little weird because all of these are temporary. Did I get rid of the edit count? Nope. Okay, it's there. Okay, so all of these are temporary because eventually the interface is going to change. I think probably the design area and build areas, that's where I really need to extract some common stuff, because they're going to be super similar. No, actually, you know what? I bet I could make a common editor state that delegated the rest to these design areas, and that would be where the editor specific stuff was. But anyway, that's something I'll have to solve for the real book interface, because by then I'll have these 2 examples, the item builder where you load different blueprints together and talk about how they're hinged and attached and stuff. Probably by that point, which will be the next thing right after clothing, by the way. So we don't need validate cells. We do need update rotation. So yeah, so when that one, I'll start considering what I would need. We don't need that. We do need design area. And that's why I called this design area, because I think that probably this one will be renamed to design area too at some point, and they'll just be in specific packages doing their own thing. So clothing platform, it's not really a platform, but that's okay. But yeah, that was a good question. Feel free to answer as many questions, or ask as many questions as you like. We have time. I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'm trying to get the microphone closer to my mouth while also not breathing on it. And I recognize that the volume is usually kind of low. You guys probably have the volume cranked already anyway. Okay, so let's just replace all those and we'll come back in a second. All right, so one thing I definitely need is the blueprint functions. We need this over here. These are going to be almost the same. Wow. Oops. Clothing functions. In Lemur's input mapper, you define logical functions for things, and for the clothing editor. And then you map keys to those, And so this is where that happens. And we want like all the same editing. This is really the sign that yes, there's that rotating platform is going to be very common, zooming in and out, etc. I probably should have just done this. So this is where that's defined. We have like a function for panning, a function for crane, which is like to move up and down, and then zoom, and then rotate block we won't need. Probably choose type. Probably we will. Undo redo we definitely need. So I'm going to get rid of rotate block. Choose is the one that chooses the block under the cursor. So this is where it defines like the default keys. Someday they'll be remappable by users. Rotate block doesn't mean anything to Fabric, although it might. There are rotations of, but anyway. All right, so back over here. We definitely, so here's where we initialize the input handler. We're saying, hey, whenever whatever is associated with these functions changes, you know, call me, and then something else. Yeah, this maps all those default mappings. And what this will allow me to do, and the reason this is like checking to see if it's already mapped, is eventually, you know, players will be able to map their own keys and mouse actions to things. All right. So we need that. 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 We don't need that. Don't need either of these things yet. We will have our own kind of type selector. Object settings. Did I keep that? Yes. Clothing, unnamed. Text field listener, all that's good. Carved we don't need. Edit count we do, and I'm going to keep the undo. I took them out. Alright, so we're going to temporarily comment these guys out. That's all good. Type holder. Did I get rid of type holder? I think I did. Oops. Yep, so we get rid of that. Yeah, that's the type cursor stuff, yeah. It's gone. Gone, gone, gone. X blocks we don't need. We do want the radial blur, that's the background. So we don't need, I don't even remember what I was using these for. Alright, so help, we will. Clothing editing, we'll rotate the design area. Whoops. Alright, mouse place, yeah, so none of this is true anymore. Edit the clothing design properties in the object settings panel. Clothing is the name for this blueprint. Object name is the name of item name. I think that's what I want to call that. Oh. Yeah, item. Item name. Item name. Okay. So blah 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 blah. Item name. We keep. You see, we get to keep some of the help. That's the nice thing. Is if the clothing appears. Okay, so all that's still true. We add the submenu. We still want to clean up our listeners. We don't have a world manager because that was a hack from the blueprint editor. On enable, probably want to change this to clothing wherever it appears. There we go. Okay, so on enable, we're going to enable the clothing, all these clothing functions we set up. get enabled and disabled from this group when this particular app state is enabled. Basically, when this UI opens, we enable all those. Otherwise, they're not enabled because we're using those to move around the world and stuff. We don't have a type selector. We don't need that. We do have object settings. We do have edit buttons. We'll leave that for now. We don't do this. We don't do this or this. I'm going to get rid of all the blank stuff, because I think I did up here. Yep. Okay, so technically we don't even need an update, but I'll leave it. So we're going to, when we disable this state, when the UI closes, we detach the help. We get rid of all of our listeners. Type selector doesn't exist anymore. That doesn't do anything. Set add, set remove. Oh yeah, that's to set the, so it's anything that's cell related goes away. Is this thing called anywhere? Nope. Oh, down here. Yeah, choose. Okay, so we'll leave this method in. So all that's good. I cut out the undo and redo, so we'll leave those out for now. This whole cursor moves needs a bunch of cleanup. In fact, we'll just get rid of all of it, because that's going to be clothing specific. We don't do anything with click. Cursor button event, we don't want to set the cell, but we'll go ahead and add, remove. Get rid of that. We'll go ahead and add the, oh. Okay. All good. Don't need that. Don't need that. Don't need that. I don't believe we'll need this either. Yes, we get to strip out all this. That was all about determining whether we were still inside the design cube for the block editor. Update rotation, type selector, we don't need this. Text field listener. Ah, the add edit stuff. Do I have any other? Okay. Okay, so question is, will we compile? No. Okay, so I deleted something that's causing a cascading effect. And some other things going wrong. Okay. 117. So doesn't exist yet, so we can't cancel the edit. Yeah, we don't have a rotate block anymore, which means we got to get rid of this one too. Okay. Blueprint name. Oh yeah. It's now clothing. I stopped fixing them. Okay, let's try again. 9 views, but only 2 concurrent viewers according to that. Another one. This is something that I found my editor does way better than the IDEs, and that's the global search and replace. I mean, they have smart replace down, don't get me wrong, but just to be able to hit Control H and bring up a basic dialogue, it takes way too much effort. Okay, so it's item name Geome. Where's the first geome? So this is, I reuse my local variables sometimes, but then when I delete the first one, it all goes away. So let's try this. Chipping away. This is the part that the IDE would have made a lot easier, because it would just highlight everything that's wrong. Yeah, same with material. But I'm sort of a victim of my own bad habits in this particular case. What was this? Okay, I see. That's interesting. So y needs to be set to something. Get preferred size. Oh, okay, so see, all this is, that needed to be copied over. I deleted it and I should not have. And then this can go back away like that. Okay, so let's see how much farther we got this time. We're missing a lot fewer things, I guarantee it. Yeah, see? We're very close. We get a lot of these stupid unchecked things. Oh, type selector. Okay, so that part we did do. And then y just becomes this, I think. It's kind of unfortunate. Alright, so unchecked, unchecked. Ignore all those. Oh, good. We could try to run it. Yay! Yeah, the Java generics, there's some cases where it's essentially impossible to avoid the warnings, and then you just have to mark them off. And sometimes the method that I have to mark off is too big to make me feel comfortable about it, and so I want to refactor the class to move the quote-unquote unsafe stuff into its own method, and it just takes extra work. Alright, come on. Let's go. Let's go. So have you guys been playing any interesting games lately? I know Oakster, or Oak, whatever, has been playing Baldur's Gate 3, and we talked about how that is something I'm avoiding because I know I get sucked into those kind of games. Hey, check it out. Clothing editor. Edit clothing design properties. Object settings panel. All this looks good. Yeah, I mean, these don't do anything, right? But we ought to be able to, so this still works. Yeah, and we don't, basically we don't need this grid. Next will be to load the model. Cool. All right. So blueprints here, clothing here. We're good to go. Yeah, we'll put the big giant tailor's dummy in here and be able to, ooh, I can't zoom in and out. Ooh. That is something I will need to be able to do here. I think that's disabled on the blueprint editor, right? Yeah, I don't allow zooming here, but we will definitely want it for clothing, I think, because you, yeah, Oak, yeah, killing goblins now. Yeah, right. Yeah, so I play, you know, before/after dinner, depending on how the night works out. I log into Minecraft Dungeon a little bit, you know, to kill some skeletons. I've found a lot of cool items in my little characters. Good, and it's not really a Minecraft game. It's like, to me, it's like old-fashioned Diablo, but with Minecraft graphics, and it's kind of just guilty fun. And I use that as sort of inspiration to get working, because, you know, it's easy to get in, get out, to do the daily trials, basically. And then that gets me inspired to work on Mythruna, just because I'm like in the, I need to finish my game, and I see a whole bunch of things I don't want to do, and sometimes I get some other ideas. But Baldur's Gate 3, super tempting because that's long-standing trying to think long-standing addiction for these hardcore D&D role-playing games. I played the original Baldur's Gate for quite some time, only dabbled in Baldur's Gate 2, and then Neverwinter Nights, that's where I went really off the deep end. We played through that and did Persistent Worlds, and where I ran a Persistent World for a really long time, and I was heavily involved in that modding community. Some people over there would still probably remember my name. Okay, so next step would be to get rid of the background grids. Get rid of all the grids, which means I'm going to have to decipher what I've done here. So we've got quad, which allows no collisions at all. Quad 2, which does I might want to leave these in. See if the quad faces away from the camera, which we already know is fixed to look down this. Okay, so this is these are this is allowing me to click on the back to place blocks in midair, kind of thing. Something you couldn't do in old Mythruna, but anywhere on that grid and the back wall you can click. And so we don't want that. Paper, we want drawn grid. Is drawn grid even used? Oh yeah. Because I used to use the Wattle and Daub blocks, but now I believe I use. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. Crap. No. Yeah, so that's, so this one's just like the drawn grid. We don't want that. Old paper flattened. Probably we do. We create something for texture 1. So all the old paper stuff we still want. Oh, but some of the old paper, regular paper, no. I think anything to do with texture 2 we don't want. Texture 3 I think is the one we want. Because I think paper is just the that's basic, yeah. So we're not using that for anything in this. So get rid of anything to do with texture 1. Texture 3 we still want. Platform paper. No. A wider base, that we leave. Material 3. Oh, but you know what? We made we were reusing the first geometry we created. But we reset the. Okay, so quad we kept. Platform paper. We want to keep that. We reset the layer. We don't really care about the layer though. So for now, get rid of it. Here, we're just doing a move, which is relative. So, thing is, each of these will be cumulative because we're reusing that geom. So, in Mythruna, I was just reading your killing goblins now thing again. I think you're probably the only one still on, Ron. maybe if you're still on. The Mythruna needs a goblin sort of fill in. And I was thinking of making them like rat people. And I just can't come up with a good name. I liked Ratlings or Ratlins, but Ratlings. But apparently that's pretty widely used in the Warhammer universe, so I'm hesitant to do that. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of a good name for the quote-unquote little rat people that would take the place of goblins. And I probably will have goblins too. They're just too classic. Okay, so we've got the quad. We don't need the quad. We're not going to do the clone. We're just going to say a wide base. Set material 3, yes. Set local scale, set Q bucket. And we'll move again because it's all cumulative. Did I move the other one that I just released? Or just removed? Come on. So we didn't move that one, so that's why I'm fine. Okay. Okay, we don't need that. We don't need any of these. Okay, so if I did my job right, yeah, design area has been stripped and should just now be the paper on the floor. Yeah, one of the common things I do when I'm naming stuff is to go to different online translators for like Welsh or any of the Gaelic things, and then come up with different word roots for different things and glom them together in some kind of fantasy way. So if any of you know Welsh or any of the old Gaelic languages and think, gee, that word looks kind of familiar, that's why. Someday I'll get smarter about that, but for now that's why. Clothing. Yep, okay, so we've just got the platform, and of course now we're all kind of, something is maybe centering that, and okay, so I don't think we can go upside down fully. Let's see, do blueprints let me go upside down? Nope. Actually, blueprints don't let me go. Yeah, that's because it moved it up to the center. I think it has to do with the size of the... That is something... Yeah, because this is rotating around that center point. So that actually will be good. We want that. Alright, so now I need to remember how to convert an asset. I think I have my JMech utility. Let's go over here to the model set. So, yeah, it's funny, you can load up the... I created a rig just to see if the GLTF would load for that Blender thing that I made. And so I can load the dummy, and it of course loads with her clothes and giant because it needs to be rescaled. Oh, and I was deleting some of the clothing. I forgot it saves the last thing you did. But this is obviously not the right texture. It's just using the clothing texture it would put on a person. So I need to fix the scaling here, and I think the JMech will let you run scripts, but the rigging tool will let me run scripts as well. Let's see, rigger, models, human female, rescale.groovy. Yeah, so see, I want something like this, but for the dummy rig. And models, dummy, female, rescale dash groovy. Oh, rescale dot groovy. That way, So it's going to complain because it's not going to find the right roots, but we'll work on that in a second. But this lets me test it out before I try to run JMech, and it's going to complain about a bunch of things. So we don't want to do, I don't think it cares about the lighting. Get the model root. We do want to, yeah, so this is where it will fail because it's not going to find a rig. Set local scale, we want to do that, so we'll get rid of the rig part. Not doing anything with the rig. The average height thing's going to get messed up because we don't have a head or head, we have feet, no head. So probably I will want to adjust it. There's a benefit to, I mean, it really doesn't matter what size I make the tailor's dummy, but there's probably benefits down the road if I make all of the, I probably still want, if I make it the same size as the human model. So we don't want to do any of this rig stuff. Yeah, let's just get rid of all that because this one doesn't have any. Alright, so we replaced all the stuff. We don't have any hair. We don't have any female skin, so this really isn't going to do anything. So we don't need any of that. In fact, for now, let's just do this. I think I will want to remap the, I definitely will want to remap the material, but I want to convert it. I want to convert it to a regular, my version of lighting. So don't need this, get rid of that. I might need to change that. Anyway, so let's go back to the dummy rig and copy this. I know I'm going through a lot to just make sure the scale is right. Dummy female models. Dummy female. So what is the post-proc doing? So post-proc is the one that's changing, replacing the material. I want to steal that as well. Uh-oh, Pepsi's gone. Yeah, we're getting about 10 o'clock. So let's rush through this a little bit. So let me see if my script even works. And then I will combine the two together. Open rig, dummy, load. Okay, so she's messed up with in a partially naked state. Hopefully YouTube doesn't give me a strike for that. And if we open, so what I'll do is I'll take a screenshot and I will open human female 2. Should be a little smaller. Yep. So print screen that. And oh, I don't have a second one open. Yeah, my computer's been blue screening a lot lately, unfortunately. Oops. So what do I want to do? Model set. Start main. Oh, rigger. Yeah. Yeah. So she's she's just as tall. It did make them the same size, right? But not really in the way that I wanted. So we'll make it closer. I'm not going to get exact about it right now. So let's just try 1.5 for now. The other thing I want to do is take this stuff and Yes, I think I want all of this. Okay, so yeah, okay, that's fine. I like the script because it lets me import anywhere. So we want to just definitely generate tangent binormals should already be generated. So is PBR? Yep, if it's PBR, we're going to convert it. But this is not what we want. We want, what is the texture name? Dummy base, I think. Dummies female dummy base .png. So actually can I just, oh, if it's the grid X, we don't use grid X, so that's fine. We do want, I can just get rid of this. That's just replacing the normal grid placeholder. This is doing what we want, and this will, if there have is normal map, it'll replace the normal map. Okay, cool. So this should put it in non-PBR mode and keep the texture the way it was, and use our local lighting is custom to Mythruna, and that's what deals with the sunlight versus local light for wherever you're standing kind of thing. Okay, so if we do this, and again, this is riggers. I'm not going to use it to make the J30, the actual binary. I'm just using it to test my script because it's convenient, and I get a visual thing of it. Okay. That's not good. I believe I know why this happens. So, because in the Blender model, I actually have these mixed, so that when I was editing it, I could turn back the, and I think that's confusing it. So you know what, we'll just hack this for now. You know what, I don't even have to shut this down. Just edit the script and reload the thing. Get texture value. Assets load texture. I hope you guys are enjoying the live stream so far. And what do we call it? Dummy base, I think. Yeah, we'll complain if that's wrong. So if I do this, I should be able to just reopen the rig. Oh, okay. We had a bug. Yeah, dummy base.png. Cannot find it. Where is it looking for it? This I might have to stop for. Source root. Dummy base.star. Oh. Whereas if I look for Taylor's dummy female, I'm a little sad that we lost everybody. So it's about to get interesting. Okay, so models dummy female. All right. Where's the other one? Oh, and build. Source main. Resources, dummies, female. Yeah, okay, so that's what it is. Move that to source main. Oh, still here? Okay, so YouTube's just lying to me then. I feel better. YouTube likes to mess with my rigor models. YouTube likes to mess with my confidence, I guess. Alright, let's try this again. Okay, come on, come on, come on, come on. Work. Work. I should add an export. Just to export a J3O here. Okay, cool. Look, she's got the right that's got the right texture. Yeah, the only thing is the way I had to map the grid. You know, this line doesn't cut straight across, even in the swatches. Yeah, it's not going to let me. Yeah. So there's this little V there. That line should go straight across, but it happens even in when you're placing the. Yeah, all of you guys together are one single viewer. Are you in the conference room? You guys in for the conference room? Okay, so that'll be what our dummy looks like, and so we've got a good script, and so I ought to be able to take JMEC and say JMEC source root models, oops, source main rigor models dummy female. Oh, she dummy thick, yo. Dash script, we want to be source main rigor models dummy female rescale. Okay, exciting things are about to happen. Alright. Target root source main resources models, no, dummies female, and specifying where the place to copy data from the target root. Oh, this should be just resources, and then target path should be the main resources. Not the full thing, but we are Legion, we are one, and yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's see if this works, and then I gotta specify the model. Source main rigor models dummy female Taylor's dummy .gltf. See if this will work. Cross your fingers. Whoops. Oh yeah. That would be a problem. Poop. Let me see what rigor is doing. I might be able to cheat. When we say save here, when we say compile binary, what are we doing? Oops. We're calling compile binary on rig view state. Rigor may already do this for me. The issue is that I'm trying to use a custom material that the JME converter doesn't know about. You know what? I don't need to do that. I can use the regular. I can use the regular lighting, and even if not forever, for now, for sure. So I don't need to use my custom one. So let's not go down that path. I do need to remember common. It's common matdesk lighting light. I think I have this open. Nope. But we can find it. Okay, so this is standard JME, JMonkey Engine material. Main resources common, mat defs light. I was right. Common defs and lighting just J3MD. So common lighting J3MD. Yep. Okay. And all that's good. Oh, so I should just do this. Work. Yeah! Ha ha ha. That's interesting that it copied all those grid X. Okay, so that wrote it to resources where we need it, which means I ought to be able to just load this model and put it in my scene. Let's go down here to the clothing design area and do something dumb like spatial dummy equals assets. It's just weird to use the word dummy literally. Like in coding sometimes use the word dummy like dummy argument or whatever. In this case it's literally a dummy. Like, I don't know, feels weird. I felt bad once though because some coworker long time ago, a coworker asked me for help with something and I gave them like a code snippet. He was asking like how to pass arguments to this thing, and but you had to like, it was C, so you had to like pass a pointer to a pointer, and so I called the argument dummy because we were just going to pull the value out of it, and he thought I was calling him a dummy, and I felt really bad. It's like, no, like it's a dummy argument. At least he said something and didn't just go privately stew about it. High speed, low drag. Okay, come on, load faster. Load faster, young Mythruna. Load faster. One of the things so I'm going to try to cut releases once a month. We'll see how I feel about that at the end of August, because we're already halfway through August, or almost halfway through. But I'm going to try to cut releases once a month, and basically I'm going to keep pace to work on big things in the background, maybe during these live streams, and do small things during the week. We'll see. Let's see what we do. Oh, look, it's trying to work. We lost the texture, and we are way too small. Well, see, the thing is, like, this is scaled up so that a block is a unit, right? And so her being, yes, we need to fix that. We're like 1/10 scale, or we're not 1/10 scale, 1/4 scale or something. And she's missing her texture, so probably we had like a complaint about that. Oh my god. Female dummy base. Oh, I've got okay. I know what's wrong. I know why they can't find the texture. So we'll fix two things real quick. What was I talking about before? You just rolled your first... Oh, in Baldur's Gate 3? Nice. What was I talking about before, though? I think that... I'm total blank. So, anyway, these paths, I think, need to be forward slashes for that part. So if anybody remembers what I was just talking about for a second ago, please remind me. I'm sure it was important. Cut the releases once a month. Maybe that's what I was talking about. No, I think I got just beyond that. Oh well. If you guys were actually listening to me and want to know what I was going to say next on whatever topic that was, drop it in the chat. Sometimes I watch these back later. I used to make chapter markers, and I stopped doing that because I wasn't sure anybody was using them. And it does take me a long time to rewatch these videos, but sometimes I do rewatch them, and then I go, oh, that's what I was talking about. I threatened to put my camera up. I guess that's when I get 1,000 subscribers, that's when I add the camera, right? That's what all the popular YouTubers do. Camera reveal. Something like that. Okay, so look, she's got her texture. Oh, I didn't fix the scaling. So let's fix that real quick, because we're not blocks. Size 10. We are not size 10. We are size 2. Wait, let me make sure that's doing what I think it is. That is setting our local scale. What if we don't set our local scale? Quite a lot of log entries. I'm looking into backporting logging into an existing application. Thoughts on keeping them under control and useful? So there's like, and I don't know if this is going to be useful at all, but there's like 3 levels of logging that I tend to. Okay, so other than warnings and errors, right? There's 3 levels of logging I leave. The info stuff, which is, hey, those I'll leave on. I set info. Those are supposed to be the least verbose, right? They're just, hey, this is kind of what the application is doing. You can see I have way too many infos right now, right? This is kind of what the application is doing. General, like, large strokes. And then debug. These all should have been debugged, but I have debug turned off by default, so I get lazy and I don't want to like configure it per category. And then trace is the log every step of the way, everything. And then you can control that through configuration. In fact, most of my applications, I try to build in some way to even set the logging level at runtime. So let's say, so this is setting the scale to 10 basically. But then she should be really tall. Why is she not really tall? Because we are probably in something. The clothing. I'm not sure, Lucas, I'm not sure that I even approached an answer to your question. Local scale 5. And, you know, again, my logging discipline on professional apps is very good, I think. Well, I can say that, but you fall into the same trap, right? You leave way too many info loggings in. But on my current job, I'm very careful. My current project. So we set this to 5 because why 5? How many? Okay, so set local scale. So that's the platform. But why 5? It doesn't even make sense because unless it's like half of, I don't know, what if we set this to 10? What if we, okay, so let's reset expectations here. Let's just remove all scaling. Remove all default scaling and see what happens. But I'm a logging pack rat because I've worked in environments before where we need to go down to a customer's site and try to figure out what's going on. And so verbose logging, even though it's filling up the disk or whatever, is super useful. Even if you have to like parse it with special tools, but at least you can see what went on when you weren't there. And so like I tend to leave logging in rather than remove it. Just for kind of a bad habit that's been useful. It keeps getting reinforced. Okay, so we have made it teeny tiny. Look at it, teeny tiny. Oh yeah, and it's like ooh. Okay, so there's something going on there. I just don't know how to unravel why I picked certain scales, but you know what? You guys don't care. I don't really care. Everything else was the right scale except for the dummy. So let's just set the local scale of the dummy to 10 and see what happens. And I bet that's too big because I bet the root had already been rescaled by my script. But I guess we shall see. We have to wait for things to load. Especially when the UIs are in this phase, it would be nice to have a little test harness to be able to load them without loading the full game. But alas. It's most annoying when I'm, oh gosh, we're already 22 minutes over. It's most annoying when I'm on these live streams because like I feel bad for you guys having to watch me load the game over and over. Plus in a test harness I could add script things. Okay, clothing. Yeah, so she's super large. So she was already probably the right scale. And she's standing on the base down there. So she was probably already the right scale. And so we will just set her scale to 1. And then rerun. And I think this is about where I will end it. I really wanted to have the toggles to turn off the body parts done, but I'm not going to make you guys sit through that, and I actually have to eat dinner here soon. When I talk about before and after dinner playing Minecraft Dungeons, I eat dinner. I have dinner time with my family, but I don't usually eat at that time, or I'll have a snack. Because my time schedule, I usually eat after everybody goes to bed. I watched this guy talk about, habits to being productive, and he talked about all of them, but the one he said that he says one of them was so effective that it almost makes the other ones irrelevant because it was just so much more effective than any of them, and that it was basically he skips breakfast. He eats as late in the day as possible. And I said, you know what? On the most productive days, that's exactly what I do too. Gosh, there's like a really tantalizing blue, but there's caves there. Anyway, so I just leaned into that. So I eat lunch as late as possible, usually sometimes right at when my kids and wife eat dinner. Okay, so that's closer. I'm going to I got to readjust this, but basically, we're going to move this, basically make her bigger, and have some toggles over here to turn off and on the different body parts. And when we do that, it will essentially auto zoom to whatever will fit. So if we take the legs off, it'll plop her down on here and make it super big and stuff. So anyway, this will be where I end it. Probably Monday. By Monday, I should have her being clickable with like little swatches and things because I have a UI to do. I still have to work out exactly how hand-holdy that will be and stuff, but hopefully we get there. And then this one, this editor will be so much better than my tool. I will probably make a built-in like export, so you can export the clothing, so that I can include it in the game and stuff as for NPCs. Anyway, I'm rambling now. Let's bring up the. I think that's a pretty cool place to stop for the night, and thank you guys for joining. I hope you have a really productive week, and if you're working on any personal projects, drop into the Discord and tell us about them, especially if they're game related. But if not, if you just want to talk about it, you drop into the Discord. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Feed the YouTube algorithm. That's always great. I keep meaning to update this to get rid of the highlights for the most recent contributors. So I'll probably do that before the next live stream. Anyway, thank you for joining. You guys are rock. Thanks for hanging out with me while I stumbled through my own code. And I will catch you guys next time. Thanks.